The K-Thraxy Primarch didn't understand that human patience is not a resource. It is a fuse. On Xylos Prime, patience was the only currency the humans had left. The planet was a rind of red rock and corrosive ammonia-laced wind. The only settlement, Outpost Vigil, was a patchwork of pressurized human prefabs huddled in the shadow of the K-Thraxy Citadel, an obsidian spike that drank the weak light of its star. Vigil was a human town, but it was K-Thraxy territory. They had arrived 5 years ago in their order vessels, declared the tellurium-rich planet under their mandate of stewardship, and graciously allowed the 3,000 human colonists to remain, provided they contributed. Ilias Thorn was the man who managed that contribution. He was Vigil's chief engineer, which by default had also made him its mayor, its negotiator, and its chief apologist. He was a tall man, thinned by rationed years, his face lined with the constant, grinding pressure of holding a community together. His hands, which had once designed fusion reactor conduits, now spent their time signing K-Thraxy labor manifests and repairing the air scrubbers in the residential habs. His daughter, Maya, was the reason he bowed. He stood now in the sterile, ozone-scented air of the Citadel's lower chancellery. Before him sat Primarch Varus, a K-Thraxy of high caste. Varus was a 7-foot-tall avian reptilian, his body encased in ornate, gold-plated armor that hummed faintly. His movements were fluid and precise, his black, slit-pupiled eyes expressing a cold, bottomless disinterest. Primarch Varus, Ilias began, his voice practiced and respectful. He kept his eyes lowered. The manifest for the week is complete. Quota 44 Delta is met. The tellurium ore is refined and ready for transport. Varus made a soft, clicking sound, the K-Thraxy equivalent of a sigh. It is. Adequate engineer Thorn, barely. Your species' inefficiency continues to be a drain on stewardship resources. We are doing our best, Primarch, Ilias said, the familiar taste of bile in his throat. Which brings me to my request. The Xylos pathogen, the new strain is aggressive. We have 47 in the infirmary. 22 are children. My daughter Maya is among them. We are aware of your infirmary, Varus said. He tapped a console, and a holographic list of names appeared, glowing red. Maya's was near the top. Your species' fragile biology is a constant source of administrative burden. The synthete, Ilias pushed, his knuckles white. It's the only thing that works. The last shipment you allocated is gone. We need another, Primarch, please, the children. Varus tilted his head, his plumed crest ruffling. The synthete is a controlled substance engineer. It is derived from K-Thraxy biocompounds. It is expensive. We do not give it. We are paying for it, Ilias said, his voice rising slightly before he caught himself. He forced it back down. With our labor, with the tellurium, we met the quota. You met the minimum quota required for your continued existence, Varus corrected him. You did not meet the surplus quota required for luxury items. It is not a luxury item, Primarch. It is medicine. It's life. Varus made the clicking sound again. Your perspective is sentimental, and sentiment is a bio-liability. You wish for more synthete, then you must contribute more. The quota for the next cycle is increased by 20%. Meet it, and we will. Ray, evaluate your request. Ilias felt a cold, sharp spike of despair. Primarch, we can't. We physically can't mine that much. Our equipment is. We're already running 24-hour shifts. The miners are exhausted. People are collapsing. Then they should collapse in the mines, engineer, Varus said, his voice as flat as the obsidian wall behind him. And not in the infirmary where they are a drain. Contribution equals existence. That is the order of things. You are dismissed. Ilias stood there for a long moment, his blood roaring in his ears. He wanted to scream. He wanted to take the heavy data slate in his hands and shatter the Primarch's impassive alien face. He wanted to. He thought of Maya. He saw her face, pale and damp with fever, her breathing shallow. He bowed. We will try, Primarch. Thank you for your time. He turned and walked out of the chancellery. His shoulders bowed under a weight heavier than Xylos's gravity. As the great obsidian door hissed shut behind him, he didn't see the small, crystalline creature that had been standing in the shadows of the alcove. This was Vyark, a Farian merchant. The Farians were a species of galactic observers, traders in information, and above all, survivors. They were small, multi-limbed, their bodies composed of shifting, semi-precious minerals. They communicated in soft, mathematical chimes. Vyark was here to trade for K-Thraxy star charts and had been observing the human K-Thraxy dynamic with growing, Academic. Interest. Vyark watched Elias Thorne walk away, his internal sensors analyzing the human's biometric data from a distance. He noted the suppressed adrenaline, the spike in cortisol, the controlled, rhythmic breathing of a being practicing profound, willful self-restraint. A Kathraxi peacekeeper, a massive, four-armed warrior, clanked past. "The human leader is weak," the guard said to Varys's aide. "He bows well." Vyark, silent, extended a crystalline limb and touched the wall where Elias had passed. The stone was cold, but Vyark's sensitive feelers detected a microscopic trace of moisture, salt, water. The human had been leaking fluid from his eyes, a stress response. Fascinating, Vyark chimed to himself, a sound like falling glass. The Kathraxi see the bowing, they see the leakage, they interpret it as weakness, but my data on this species is contradictory. They do not break. They endure. I wonder what the variable for yield strength is on this particular specimen. Elias walked back into the human sector. The wind was howling, flinging red, corrosive dust that pinged off his worn jacket. The prefab buildings were low-slung, their lights a dim, warm yellow against the oppressive alien black of the citadel. The air here was thicker, tasting of recycled oxygen, cooked food, and human sweat. It tasted like home. He went straight to the infirmary. It was a long, repurposed storage container filled with cots. His wife, Sarah, had died here 2 years ago from the same pathogen. Now his daughter was in the same bed. Dr. Lena Petrova, Vigil's chief physician, looked up as he entered. Her face was a mask of exhaustion. "Elias, any luck?" Elias didn't have to answer. He just shook his head, the motion stiff, painful. Lena cursed, a short, sharp, violent word. "That Vulture, he's got a stockpile of it, Elias. I've seen the manifests. They're using it, to disinfect their cargo bays. They think it's exotic soap." "I know," Elias said, his voice hollow. He knelt by Maya's bed. She was 10. Her dark hair was plastered to her forehead. Her small hand was hot in his. "Hey, monkey," he whispered, forcing a smile. "Hey, Dad," she breathed, her eyes barely fluttering open. Did you fix the reactor?" "Just about, monkey, just about. You just rest. I'll be right back. I'll get you the medicine, I promise." "Okay, Dad," she murmured, already drifting back to sleep. You always fix it." He squeezed her hand, his throat closing. He stood up and looked at Lena. How long?" Lena's face was grim. "Without the synthete, her fever's climbing, the pathogen. It attacks the nervous system, 48 hours, maybe 72. The other children, the same, Elias. What are we going to do?" Elias stared at his daughter's face. He saw Sarah's face. He saw the faces of the 21 other children in this room. He saw the faces of 3,000 humans, trapped, working themselves to death for a species that used their life-saving medicine as soap. He had bowed, he had scraped, he had compromised. He had negotiated his people's dignity away piece by piece, all for a chance to survive, and it wasn't working. "What are we going to do?" he repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. He turned and walked to the door. You keep them comfortable. I'm going to the engineering bay." "Elias, what for? To try and synthesize it." "No," Elias said, his back to her. He looked at his hands, the engineer's hands. The hands that built things, the hands that fixed things. I'm done fixing their quota manifests. I'm going to fix this. All of it." He stepped out into the red, acidic wind. He didn't walk toward the mines. He walked toward the massive, humming power conduit that fed the entire outpost. The conduit he had designed. The conduit he maintained. The conduit that ran directly beneath the Kathraxi citadel. Patience was a fuse, and the spark had just been lit. The engineering bay of Outpost Vigil was Elias Thorne's sanctuary, and it smelled of ozone, hot metal, and hydraulic fluid. It was a cavernous, subterranean space, dug directly into the red rock of Xylo's prime, filled with the guts of machines that kept 3,000 people alive. Here, Elias was not a beggar. He was a master. His team, a grim-faced, silent crew of technicians, looked up as he entered. "Boss," his lead tech, a woman named Rena, asked. "What's the word?" Petrova said Maya. "The word is no," Elias said, his voice flat. He walked past her to his personal console. "The quota is up 20%, no medicine until we meet it." A chorus of curses and a metallic clang as someone threw a wrench against a bulkhead. 20%? Rena was incredulous. "He's trying to kill us. He knows we can't." "Yes," Elias said. He brought up a schematic on his console. It wasn't the mining drills. It wasn't the residential scrubbers. It was the tellurium ore processor, the massive, station-sized machine that separated the raw ore, and next to it, the waste conduit sector 4. "He is trying to kill us," Elias continued, his voice calm, his fingers flying across the console. "He's trying to see how much we'll take before we break. He thinks we're just inefficient, weak. He thinks we're a resource to be depleted." "So what are we doing?" Rena asked, stepping up beside him, her eyes scanning the schematic. "Trying to boost the processor efficiency. Elias, we've tried. We're at 99.8%. "I'm not boosting efficiency, Rena," Elias said. He typed in a series of authorization codes. "I'm rerouting the byproducts, specifically the tellurium catalyst vapor, the stuff we've been venting into the deep strata." Rena's eyes widened. "Elias, that gas, it's not just toxic, it's hypervolatile, it's explosive. We vent it 5 kilometers down for a reason. What are you?" He pointed to the schematic. The K-Thraxi Citadel, the obsidian spike, was built on a foundation of dense bedrock. But that bedrock was shot through with old, dry lava tubes. And those tubes, they ran right past Elias' deep strata vent. "The K-Thraxi built their citadel on a geological fault," Elias said, his voice a whisper. "They thought it was imposing. They never asked the engineer if it was smart." You're going to?" Rena couldn't say the word. "No," Elias said, shaking his head. "I'm not yet. I'm creating a contingency. I'm installing a pressure release valve right here." He highlighted a junction on the schematic. A junction that, with a single command, would divert 80,000 cubic meters of highly explosive catalyst vapor not 5 kilometers down, but into the network of lava tubes directly beneath the citadel. "Elias," Rena was pale. That's a bomb. That's a planet cracker. You'd kill everyone, us included." "Not if it's controlled," Elias said, his mind racing, the engineer's logic latching onto the problem. "The main reactor, our reactor, I can set it to overload, but I can direct the overload, a shaped charge, a plasma pulse focused, down into the conduit. It wouldn't be a bomb, it would be a scalpel, a geological event. It would vaporize the Citadel's foundations. The whole thing would collapse into the earth, the human sector. We'd get the quake, but we'd survive." He looked at her, his eyes burning with a cold, terrifying fire. It's a negotiating tactic, that's all. It's the card we've been holding, the one I never wanted to play." And Varys," Rena asked, her voice trembling, "what about him?" "He's the one I'm negotiating with." Before Rena could respond, an alarm blared. A station-wide proximity alert. "What is that?" Elias demanded. "K-Thraxi peacekeepers," a tech yelled from the security console. They're moving into the human sector, a full platoon. They're heading for the infirmary." Elias' blood ran cold. He slammed his hand on the comm. "Lena, Dr. Petrova, report. What's happening?" Lena's voice came back, panicked, breathless. "Elias, oh gods, they're here, they said." Varys issued a new mandate. "Consolidation of the non-productive. They're seizing the patients. They're taking the children." The first scream cut over the comm. "Not Lena's, a child's." He's not negotiating," Elias whispered, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. He's just taking them." "He's taking them to the Citadel," Rena said, her face ashen. To the clinic, Elias. I've heard rumors. What the K-Thraxi do in those clinics. They don't use the synthete on them. They harvest. They're trying to replicate it. They weren't patients, they were test subjects." Elias Thorne, the man of peace, the negotiator, the man who bowed, shattered. The fuse that had been his patience burned down to the end in a single, silent, white-hot flash. The engineer was gone. The father was all that remained. "Rena," he said, his voice no longer his own. It was a low, resonant, terrible sound. Get everyone, every human, the miners, the techs, the cooks, get them to the scrap runner." The scrap runner was a myth, a whisper. It was a half-built, salvaged freighter hidden in a deep, collapsed cavern that Elias and his team had been piecing together for years. It was their lifeboat. It wasn't ready. It had no drive, no FTL. "Elias, it can't fly," Rena cried. "The main drive, it's a shell." "It doesn't need to fly far," Elias said, his eyes fixed on the schematic. "It just needs to get to the high-orbit asteroid, the one Vyark the Farian uses." "Vyark, the crystal trader, what does?" Vyark owes me, Elias said. His ship. I fixed his resonance drive last month. I forgot to uninstall the human-coded bypass. I have a back door. I can call him. He'll come. He'll see the data, and he'll come. Elias, this is insane. What are you going to do? Elias looked at the schematic, at the lava tubes, at the reactor, at the citadel. I'm going to buy you time. I'm going to get my daughter. He walked over to a heavy-duty fabrication locker. He typed in a code. The door hissed open. Inside were not tools. They were modified tools. A rivet gun that had been recalibrated to fire, rebar. A plasma cutter with its safety limiter removed, turning it from a tool into a white-hot blade. Rena, he said, strapping the plasma cutter to his belt. Get them to the runner. Now that is an order. She stared at him, the man she knew. Elias was gone. This was someone else. This was a ghost. Yes, sir, she whispered. She ran. Elias walked out of the engineering bay. He didn't run. He walked. He walked past the screaming, panicked colonists who were being herded by Rena's team. He walked against the flow of refugees. He walked toward the infirmary. He saw them, a line of Kaithraxi peacekeepers, their armor black and shining, their forearms holding heavy shock mauls. They were dragging, carrying, the sick children out of the infirmary, loading them onto a transport like cargo. He saw Lena Petrova try to intervene. A peacekeeper swatted her aside. She hit the prefab wall and crumpled, unconscious. And then he saw a peacekeeper emerge from the infirmary, carrying Maya. She was awake. She was trying to fight, her small, weak fists beating against the Kaithraxi's armored chest. Dad, she screamed, her voice thin, terrified. Daddy, help. The Kaithraxi carrying her paused. It looked at the small, feverish human. It seemed annoyed by the noise. It raised a massive, gauntleted hand. No, Elias roared. He wasn't an engineer. He wasn't a mayor. He was a father. He ran. He hit the peacekeeper at a full, desperate sprint. His shoulder impacted the alien's chest. The Kaithraxi, caught off guard, stumbled, dropping Maya. Elias caught her. He held her to his chest, shielding her with his body as he fell, rolling, covering her. Maya Esaki, I'm here. The peacekeeper turned. Its multi-lensed optics glowed red. It raised its shock maul. Human, you are interfering. This is a breach of stewardship. Elias Thorne stood up. He gently, so gently, placed Maya behind him. He stood between his daughter and the alien. He stood between his species and the monsters. He looked at the Kaithraxi. He looked past it at the citadel where he knew Varus was watching. He raised his hand, his finger pointing, not at the soldier, but at the Primarch miles away. His voice was broadcast on every channel, on the station-wide comm, on the Kaithraxi military frequency, on Vyark's private trade channel. It was cold, it was calm. It was the sound of a star collapsing. Varus. Silence. The wind stopped. The screams stopped. Tell your animal to take one more step, and I will show you exactly what a bioliability is. The Kaithraxi peacekeeper, confused by the lack of fear, by the challenge, raised its maul. You will be disciplined. No, Elias said. He ignited the plasma cutter. The sheeting of the white-hot blade, a foot long, lit his face. I won't. I'm done being disciplined. I'm done negotiating. You took our homes, you took our food, you took our dignity. We endured. He looked at Maya, small, terrified, behind him. He looked back at the Kaithraxi. But she is not yours to consolidate. She is not a resource. She is my daughter. He raised his voice, a raw, primal human roar that echoed across the planet. You just crossed the line. And in his distant observation ship, the Farian merchant Vyark heard that phrase. His crystal body clattered in panic. He slammed his limbs on his console, sending an emergency Code Omega broadcast to the Galactic Council. Subject human, designation Thorne Elias, location Xylos Prime, status Event Horizon. Note: the line has been declared. Kaithraxi have doomed themselves, rewriting all. Human pacifism, data they are. Not weak, they are waiting. The Kaithraxi peacekeeper took that one last step. The universe did not pause for the Kaithraxi peacekeeper's fatal miscalculation. The four-armed alien lunged, its shock maul humming with a blue, incapacitating energy. It was a standard compliance strike, designed to shatter bone and override a nervous system. It expected the human to fall. Elias Thorne did not fall. He moved with a speed born not of training, but of pure, distilled necessity. He didn't meet them all. He stepped inside its arc. The plasma cutter in his hand, no longer a tool but a fang, hissed as he drove it upward. He plunged the foot-long, white-hot blade of coherent energy deep into the Kthraxi's torso, punching through the gap in its armor where the chest plate met the abdomen. There was a horrific, sizzling sound, the smell of burning ozone and cooked meat. The Kthraxi stopped. It looked down at the human who was, impossibly, holding it, bracing it, killing it. Its multi-lensed optics flickered. Error, bioliability, error. Elias ripped the cutter free, a lateral, vicious tear. The Kthraxi crumpled, its internal systems fused into slag. It was dead before its knees hit the red dust. Silence. The other peacekeepers, the ones loading the children onto the transport, froze. They had just witnessed an impossibility. A probationary species, a bioliability, had just executed a Kthraxi warrior. Maya, Elias said, his back to her, his voice shaking but his resolve like iron. Run to Rena, she's at the runner, don't look back, run. She hesitated, her small, terrified face pale. Dad. Gio, he roared. She ran, she stumbled, fell, but got up, disappearing into the swirling red dust and the chaos of the human evacuation. Elias Thorne turned. He faced the remaining dozen peacekeepers. He was one man, he was an engineer. He was bleeding from a gash on his forehead where the first soldier had struck him. He was breathing in ragged, painful gasps. And he was the most terrifying thing they had ever seen. Who's next? He breathed, raising the dripping plasma cutter. In the Citadel, Primarch Varys watched his monitor, his black, slit-pupiled eyes wide. He had just seen his peacekeeper, butchered by a technician. What is this? He hissed. This is disorder, this is chaos. An aide, a lower-caste Kthraxi, clattered in. Primarch, the human. He's activated something in the engineering bay, the tellurium vapor conduit. It's rerouting all 80,000 cubic meters. They're not venting there. They're pooling in the lava tubes, beneath us. Varys's blood ran cold. He too had seen the schematics. He had dismissed them. Lava tubes, how? Primitive. He's bluffing, Varys declared, his voice lacking its usual cold certainty. He would kill himself, his own people. It is unlogical. A bioliabilities panic. Primarch, the aide shrieked, pointing to another console. The main human reactor, it's going into overload. He's tied it to his biometric signal. If his heart stops the reactor, it pulses downward. It will ignite the vapor. Primarch, he's built a dead man's switch. Varys stared. The human, the bowing, leaking, weak human, had just checkmated him. He had turned the entire outpost into a bomb, and he had made himself the trigger. All forces, Varys roared, slamming his four-clawed hands on his console. Seize him alive, do not kill him, I repeat, do not kill the engineer. Back in the dust, the 12 peacekeepers' orders changed. Their red lethal optics shifted to blue, capture. They advanced. They were no longer trying to kill him, they were trying to subdue him. And they learned the second terrible lesson of that day. It is far, far harder to capture a human who has crossed the line than it is to kill him. Elias was not a warrior. He was an engineer. He fight with honor. He fought with physics. The first two peacekeepers lunged. He didn't meet them. He ducked. He rolled between them, his plasma cutter slashing not at their armor, but at their knees. He severed the hydraulic lines in their legs. They collapsed, roaring, immobile. He didn't stop. He was already moving. He grabbed the shock maul from the first one he'd killed. He saw the transport, the one with the remaining, terrified children, still inside. Get off our planet, he yelled. He jammed the shock maul into the transport's engine block. Blue-white energy surged. The engine exploded, flipping the transport onto its side. The doors burst open. The children, they spilled out, coughing, crying, but free. Run, Elias screamed at them. To the cavern, run. The peacekeepers were on him. 1, 2, 3. They tackled him. His plasma cutter flew from his hand. He was pinned, his face pressed into the red dust. He heard the whine of a shock maul powering up. It's over, engineer, the Kthraxi hissed, its weight crushing him. You are contained. Elias spat a mouthful of bloody dust. You think this was the plan. He slammed his fist, not at the alien, but at the ground, at a small coded keypad set into the plasteel foundation of the street. A maintenance panel. His maintenance panel. The problem with your stewardship, Elias gasped, is you never read the safety manual. He typed purge conduit 4. A sound like a hurricane erupted from the street grates. The ground hissed. A 10-foot-tall plume of invisible, shimmering heat erupted from the grate directly under the 3 peacekeepers holding him. It was the tellurium catalyst vapor. Venting upward, it hit the K-Thraxi. Their armor, designed to stop kinetics to stop energy, had no defense against a hypercorrosive toxic gas, the vapor. It didn't burn them, it unmade them, the armor, dissolved, the beings inside liquefied. In a second they were gone, just a stain. Elias, who had been at the edge of the plume, was thrown clear, his jacket smoking. He was screaming, his lungs burning from the taste of the vapor, but he was alive. He got to his feet, he looked at the remains of the K-Thraxi. He retched, he hadn't known. He looked at his hands, he had just melted three living beings. Daddy, help. The voice, it was Maya, it wasn't real, it was in his head. No, it was on his comm, his private channel. Maya, he screamed, scrambling for his comm. Maya, where are you? I thought I saw you. Run. I tried, Daddy, I hid the other soldiers. They didn't see me, but they're taking Dr. Petrova, they're taking her to the Citadel. They said they need the human biologist for the harvest. I followed them. I'm inside the Citadel. Dad, it's cold. Elia's heart stopped. She hadn't run, she had followed them. She was inside the Citadel. And his dead man's switch was set to ignite the vapor beneath the Citadel. If he died, Maya would die. He looked at the tactical display on his wrist. His biometric signal was failing. His heart was stuttering. The vapor he had inhaled. It. Warning, cardiac arrhythmia detected. Reactor pre-pulse sequence initiated. Detonation in 90 seconds. No, Elias whispered, clawing at his console. No, abort sequence. Sequence locked. Primarch Varus has hacked the system. He has seized control of the overload. He looked up at the Citadel. A holographic image of Varus, 100 feet tall, flickered to life. You bioliability. Varus's voice boomed, shaking the very foundations of the outpost. You think you are clever. You engineered your own doom. I have your bomb and I have your offspring. Your line is meaningless. Varus had taken his bomb. He was going to trigger it himself. Detonation in 60 seconds. Elias stared at the Citadel, where his daughter was trapped. He had failed. He had crossed his own line, and it had killed his daughter. No, Elias whispered. He looked at the plasma cutter. Lying 10 feet away, he looked at the runner, a small icon on his map already launching. Detonation in 45 seconds. He had one last choice. He couldn't save Maya, but he could save his species. He had to run. He had to get to the runner. He turned his back on the Citadel. He took a step. Daddy, it's so dark. Elias Thorne stopped. He closed his eyes. The engineer died. The refugee died. He turned back to the Citadel. He picked up the plasma cutter. He couldn't save his species. He couldn't save himself. But he was a father. And he was not going to let his daughter die alone. He'd hit his comm. Vyerk. The Farian merchantess chime was instant. Elias Thorne, I am seeing this. I am fleeing this system. No, Elias gasped, his lungs on fire. You're not the scrap runner, the human ship. It's launching it. It has no FTL, it's a target. I cannot interfere, Kathraxi mandate. They have my daughter, Elias roared, the sound tearing his throat. They crossed the line. You saw it, record it, show the galaxy what they did. He took a stumbling step toward the citadel. Now do your job, merchant, save the survivors or so help me God. When I am done here, I will find you in hell and I will show you a line, too. A long silent pause. I understand. The variable now Vyark's chime was different. It was cold. The runner will be safe. I vow this. Good, Elias gasped. Detonation in 10 seconds. Elias Thorne looked at the camera. He knew Varys was watching. He smiled a bloody broken smile. You're right, Varys. I am a bioliability. You never understood what that meant. He raised the plasma cutter to his own chest. It means I'm unlogical. It means I don't care about your order. 543. It means I will burn my own heart out to stop yours. He plunged the blade into his own reactor, his chest. Cardiac arrest, DTSTD. Reactor overload, manual override. Detonation imminent. Varys screamed. He had lost control. The human had retaken his bomb by killing himself faster. See you in hell, Varus, Elias roared, as his world went white. And the planet cracked. The world did not end, it tore. The plasma pulse Elias Thorne unleashed by stopping his own heart was not a simple explosion. It was a focused, geological weapon. It shot downwards, a spear of pure, white-hot reactor plasma lancing deep into the bedrock. It struck the 80,000 cubic meters of volatile tellurium catalyst vapor that Elias had so carefully pooled in the lava tubes. The resulting detonation was silent for a fraction of a second. It was too fast for sound. Primarch Varys, on his throne in the Citadel, had just enough time to see the holographic image of Elias Thorne smiling as he died. He had time to feel a dawning, species-defining terror. He did not have time to understand. The ground beneath the Kathraxi Citadel vaporized. The entire obsidian spike, a monument to 1,000 years of Kathraxi order, dropped. It did not topple. It fell, straight down into a newly created magma-filled chasm. The obsidian, the plasteel, the armor, the Primarch, all of it was swallowed by the planet. In the human sector, a kilometer away, the shockwave hit like the fist of a god. The prefab habs, designed by Elias to be earthquake-proof, ripped from their foundations. The ground buckled, splitting open. The sky, black a moment before, was now a searing, impossible white from the column of superheated gas and molten rock venting into the atmosphere. It was an extinction-level event, locally. But Elias Thorne was an engineer. He hadn't just built a bomb, he had built a scalpel. The explosive force, terrifying as it was, had been directed. The lava tubes, which he had mapped with seismic precision, acted as a focused vent, shooting 99% of the blast energy upward through the Kathraxi sector. The human sector was hit, but it survived. It was shattered, broken, and irradiated, but it was not vaporized. And in a small, shielded maintenance tunnel inside the Citadel's foundations, a tunnel Elias had also mapped, a little girl, Maya Thorne, was curled into a ball, her comm clutched in her hand. The tunnel, built by humans, held. The rock around it turned to lava, but the insulated, reinforced tube held. She was alive, trapped, in an oven, but alive. High above in the cold, silent void, two ships watched. The scrap runner, the clumsy, ugly lifeboat, was tumbling, its engines sputtering as it clawed for orbit. It was full of 3,000 terrified, screaming, grieving humans. They had just watched their engineer, their leader, their friend, sacrifice himself to destroy their masters. And they assumed his own daughter. Rena was at the helm, tears streaming down her face as she fought the controls. He did it, she whispered, watching the planet's surface bloom with fire. God Elias. A proximity alert blared. K-Thraxi, a tech yelled. An order vessel it was, in high orbit it saw it's turning on us. The K-Thraxi cruiser, a sleek black shark-like ship, rotated, its weapon ports glowing. They were a lifeboat, they were defenseless. It's over, Rena said, her hands falling from the controls. He saved us for this. And then a new sound, a chime, a sound like glass breaking. A third ship lensed into existence. It wasn't a K-Thraxi ship. It was beautiful. It looked like a cathedral made of crystal. It was Vyark's ship, the Farian merchant, but it wasn't a merchant ship. It was massive. It was a warship. The K-Thraxi cruiser stopped. It hesitated. A voice came over all channels. It was Vyark's chime, but it was no longer polite. It was the cold, pure, resonant fury of mathematics. K-Thraxi order vessel, you are OBSERVED. You are recorded. Designation non-compliant with Galactic Accord 44. Section Children. The K-Thraxi captain, his voice shook. Farian observer, this is a K-Thraxi stewardship matter. You have no jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is ASSERTED. Line was declared. The line was witnessed. Your stewardship is REVOKD. Vyark's crystalline ship, unfolded panels, slid back, revealing not weapons but lenses, 1,000 focused lenses. You will power DOWN your weapons. You will surrender your ship, or we will show you difference between order and truth. The K-Thraxi captain saw the lenses. He knew what they were not. Lasers, resonance cannons, the same harmony the Signians used but weaponized. We surrender, the K-Thraxi whispered. On the scrap runner, the humans stared in stunned silence. Vyark's voice softened. It came only to them. Human runner, VOWED, you are safe. I am here. Rena sobbed. Thank you, Vyark, thank you, but Elias and Maya, they're gone. Gone is a human word, Vyark chimed. I am scanning the Citadel RUINS tunnel THE-1. He built the lifeboat within THE bomb. Rena's head snapped up. What? Life sign DTCTD. Down on the ruined planet. Elias Thorne's world was pain. He was not dead. He was impaled. The plasma cutter had missed his heart. It had cauterized the wound instantly. He had passed out from the shock. His cardiac arrest was a system error from the plasma burn. He woke up to fire. The sky was red. The air was choking. The Citadel was gone. In its place was a volcano. Maya, he choked, pulling the dead cutter from his chest. He fell to his hands and knees. He was alive. He had killed Varus. He had killed hundreds of K-Thraxi. And his daughter was in that hole. No, he cried, a raw animal sound. He began to crawl. He crawled toward the edge of the chasm. The heat was peeling his skin. Maya, he screamed. He reached the edge. He looked down into hell. There was nothing, just fire. He stared into the magma. He was empty. The father was gone. The engineer was gone. The human was gone. He was just a thing that had failed. He closed his eyes. He let himself tip forward into the fire. Dad, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm DOWN here. It's hot. BUT. I'm alive, Dad. His eyes snapped open. He threw himself backward. Maya, where? INTHE, tunnel, the safe tunnel. You showed me the secret place. I see you. You're up there. He looked down again, and now he saw it, a tiny ledge, a steel door, his door, the maintenance hatch 20 feet down. The rock around it was glowing red. She was alive. But he couldn't reach her. Maya, I can't get down there. It's okay, Dad, CROSSED, the line, SAVED, everyone, it's okay. No, he roared, it's not okay. He looked around frantic. There was nothing, just rock and fire. He had no rope, he had no tools, he had nothing. No, he had one thing. He looked at the dead Kathraxi peacekeeper, the first one he had killed. It was 10 feet away. Its shockmaul was broken, but its 4 arms were intact. He crawled to it. He ripped one of the massive armored arms from its socket, a horrible tearing sound. It was 12 feet long. He crawled back to the edge. He looked down. Maya backs away from the door. He jammed the arm into a crack in the rock. He braced it. It was a lever, a crane. He wrapped his legs around it. He lowered himself over the edge into the heat. The metal arm groaned. The heat blasted his face. He slid down. He slid past the ledge. He slammed into the rock wall. Dad. He kicked off. He swung back. He hit the ledge hard. His burned hands slipped. He was falling. A tiny hand shot out of the hatchet. It grabbed his wrist. He stopped. He dangled over the magma, held only by his 10-year-old daughter. I've got you, Dad, she gasped, her tiny body straining. He looked up into her face, her brave, terrified, beautiful face. He found a foothold. He pulled himself up. He tumbled into the tunnel with her. He collapsed on top of her. They lay there, gasping, crying, alive. The steel hatch groaned. The heat was melting the hinges. They were alive, but they were trapped in an oven that was getting hotter. I'm sorry, Monkey, Elias whispered, holding her tight. I got us stuck. It's okay, Dad, she whispered back. We're together. And then a blinding light filled the tunnel. A sound, a chime. Elias looked up. A shuttle bay door was opening above them. A shuttle from the scrap runner was hovering over the chasm. Rena was at the helm, her face white. Get in, boss, she screamed. A tractor beams hit them. It lifted them up out of the fire, out of the hell he had made. They floated into the shuttle. The door hissed shut. Elias Thorne held his daughter tight. He looked out the viewport. At the ruins of his home. At the crystalline warship of Vyark, which was towing the scrap runner away from the planet. He hadn't failed. He'd had won. The medbay of the scrap runner was chaotic, loud, and smelled of blood, ozone, and antiseptic. It was overcrowded with the wounded from the evacuation, but a space had been cleared for Elias. He lay on a cot, his chest heavily bandaged, a perfusion unit pumping fluids and painkillers into his arm. His hand, however, was not on the cot. It was clutching the small, feverish hand of his daughter, Maya, who lay on a cot beside him. Rena stood at the foot of his bed, her face grim, smeared with soot. Elias, you're insane. You're a lunatic. Did we get everyone? Elias rasped, his throat raw from the vapor. Everyone, Rena confirmed, her voice thick. Dr. Petrova, she was in the other tunnel, the one we thought was just for waste. She woke up and hid. She's here. She's treating the children. 3,012 survivors, Elias. Good, Elias whispered. He closed his eyes. Good. What is that thing? Rena asked, pointing at the viewport. Elias turned his head, docked, clamped. To their ugly patched hull was Vyark's ship. It was singing a low, complex chime that seemed to vibrate in their hull. That, Rena, Elias said, is our ride. A holographic projector on the wall flickered to life. The crystalline, multifaceted form of Vyark appeared. The Farian merchant was different. His light was brighter. Elias Thorne, you are awake. This is good. Your biosigns are stabilizing. Vyark, Elias said, the Kathraxi cruiser is contained, Vyark chimed. Its crew is in stasis. They will be delivered to the Galactic Tribunal. The Farian observers are no longer passive. You have changed the variable, Elias Thorne. What variable? Elias asked, confused. The line, Vyark said. For 10,000 years, the Kathraxi have operated on one principle. Contribution equals existence. They pushed, they bullied, they enslaved, and every species they met broke, they fled, or they submitted. They never encountered a species that endured. Vyark leaned forward. His crystalline face seemed to narrow. You endured, you bowed, you leaked, you negotiated. They believed this was weakness. They believed you had no yield strength. They were wrong. Human endurance is not weakness. It is a coiled spring. It is stored potential energy. You absorbed every insult, every theft, every atrocity. You compressed it. You held it. You became the negotiating tactic. And then they took your children. They'd crossed the line. And the spring uncoiled. A new window opened it. It was Vyark's recording. It showed Elias, his face screaming defiance. It showed him butchering the peacekeeper. It showed him melting the others. It showed him smiling as he impaled himself to guarantee the detonation. It was horrifying. You recorded that, Elias whispered, sickened. I record truth, Vyark chimed. This truth is now broadcasting on every channel to every species in this sector. The Kathraxi Empire, their mandate of stewardship, is shattering. A news alert. Rena, what? Elias, Rena gasped, her eyes on the navigation plot. We have company, big company. On the main screen, 3 more Kathraxi order vessels lensed into view. They were battle cruisers. They were massive. They flanked the scrap runner and Vyark's ship. The comm crackled. A new Kathraxi voice. This one wasn't arrogant. It was old and cold and afraid. Farian observer. Human vessel. This is Fleet Primarch Krell. You will surrender the asset. Elias Thorne, he is guilty of deicide. He has murdered a Primarch of the first line. He will be purified. Vyark's hologram turned. Fleet Primarch Krell, you have seen the recording. You saw the breach. Varus voided the accords. He crossed the line. The line is irrelevant, Krell roared. Primarch is dead at the hands of a probationary. This cannot stand. Surrender the human now, or we will disintegrate both of your ships. The Kathraxi cruisers powered up their weapons. Elias, Rena whispered, her hand going to her holster. What do we do? We can't fight them. Elias looked at Maya. She was asleep, but her fever wasn't breaking the synthete. She still needed it. They all did. He looked at Vyark. Vyark, Elias rasped, can you beat them? 3, 2, 1, no, my ship is a witness vessel. It is not a purifier. We will lose. Then run, Elias said. Take this ship, take the humans, get them out, leave me. Rena stared. Elias, no. It's me they want, Elias said. It's me or all of us. The choice is easy. No, Vyark chimed. Elias blinked. What? No, Vyark repeated. That is your logic, the unlogical, bioliability, sacrifice. It is not my logic. Then what is your logic? Elias demanded, sitting up, wincing in pain. The line was crossed. The recording is broadcasting. The empire is fracturing, but Krell does not care. He cares about vengeance. You cannot negotiate with vengeance. You cannot sacrifice to it. So you must show it a new variable. What variable? Vyark turned his hologram to face the calm. Fleet Primarch, Krell, you demand. Elias Thorne, we refuse. Then die, Krell roared, the weapons locked. But Vyark chimed, cutting him off. We will offer you something else, something Varys wanted. What trick is this? Krell hissed. No trick. Data, Vyark said. Your synthete, the medicine. Your species cannot synthesize it. You harvest it from a single dying bioform on your homeworld. We know. The Farian observers know everything. A deep, cold silence from Krell's ship. The Xylos pathogen. It is lethal to humans, but Varys was researching it. He believed it was the key to curing your species, to synthesizing your own medicine. He was wrong. But we are not. Vyark looked at Elias. Elias Thorne, your daughter, she has the pathogen, but she is stabilizing. Dr. Petrova's notes. The human immune system. It endures, it fights, it is unlogical, it adapts. Your daughter, Maya Thorne, is not dying. She is creating the cure. The antibodies in her blood are the missing variable. Elias stared at Maya. She was breathing easier. Her fever felt cooler. Fleet Primarch, Krell Vyark chimed, turning back. We offer you this data, the cure for your entire species, the key to your existence. And the price, Krell whispered. Simple, Vyark said. You will give us your entire stockpile of synthete, all of it for the human survivors. You will escort us to neutral territory. And you will broadcast this transaction. You will admit that your stewardship failed and that a probationary species gave you life. That is the deal. Existence for humility. The silence stretched. The Kathraxi guns remained hot. Elias knew Krell would refuse. It was too much. It was shame. We accept the transaction, Krell said, his voice dead. Elias gaped. But one condition, Krell hissed. A state of it. We never want to see your species again ever. The human experiment is over. You are banished. Take your cure, take your ship, and flee our galaxy and never return, or we will hunt you to the last star. That is our line. Elias looked at Rena, at his people. They were refugees, exiles. He looked at Maya. She was alive. We accept, Elias said. The transaction was cold, silent, and swift. The 3 Kathraxi battle cruisers, their weapons finally powered down, matched velocity with the clumsy scrap runner. A single Kathraxi shuttle, devoid of markings, docked. It transferred its cargo, pallets upon pallets of the life-saving synthete, enough to last the human survivors for years. In return, Dr. Lena Petrova, her face a mask of cold fury, handed over the data slate containing the sequenced antibodies from Maya's blood. The shuttle departed. The Kathraxi fleet, without a word or a signal, lensed out of existence, vanishing in folds of silent, angry space. They were gone. The scrap runner, still clamped to Vyark's massive crystalline vessel, floated in the sudden, profound quiet of the void. They were alone. They were 3,000 exiles with a crippled ship, a hold full of medicine, and a galaxy that was now officially hostile to their very existence. Elias Thorne stood on the bridge of the runner, his chest aching. He watched the patch of empty space where the K-Thraxi had been. Rena was at his side. "So that's it," she said, her voice hollow. We won and we're banished. We have nowhere to go." "We have everywhere to go, Rena," Elias corrected, his voice still a rasp. We're free. We're just starting over again." Vyark's chime echoed through the bridge. Elias Thorne, Krell's banishment is irrelevant. It is the posturing of a failed empire. The K-Thraxi mandate is broken. The recording of your line is propagating. Other subjugated species are seeing it. They are learning your unlogical math. A new star map appeared on the main screen. It was not K-Thraxi space. It was beyond deep, uncharted new space. "I have business in the Magellanic cloud," Vyark chimed. "There are worlds there, empty worlds, new worlds. My ship is fast. Your runner is not. I will tow you. It is a long journey." Elias looked at the map, at the glittering unknown spray of stars, a new home, a chance. "Vyark, why are you doing this? You recorded us. You used us. You're a merchant. What's your price?" The crystalline hologram of the Ferian shimmered. For the first time, its chimes sounded less mathematical. They sounded emotional. "Price, no price, investment." "Investment?" Elias asked. "My species. Observe, we watch, we calculate, we survive, we never interfere. It is our prime directive. We believed logic was the only path to survival. We'd worse wrong. I watched you, Elias Thorne. I watched you endure. I watched you break. I watched you re-engineer a planet out of spite and love. I watched you choose to die with your offspring rather than live without her. This is not logic. This is not chaos. It is human. And it is a variable my species needs to learn. You are not our clients. You are our teachers. We will protect our investment." Elias stared at the alien, this being of crystal and calculus that had just saved them all because it admired their irrationality. He laughed, a dry, painful laugh that turned into cough. "Well," he gasped, wiping a tear from his eye. "Class is in session, Professor," Vyark said. "Of course, let's go home." 6 months later. The new world was green. It was blue. It smelled of water and pollen. They called it Thorne's Landing. The scraprunner was being disassembled, its parts becoming the first buildings. The survivors were thin, tired, but they were building. Elias Thorne stood on a hill overlooking a new, shining river. His chest was scarred, a spiderweb of burned flesh. He walked with a limp, but he was breathing clean air. Maya ran up to him. Her hair had grown back. Her cheeks were red. She was healthy. She was cured. She was laughing. Dad, look," she yelled, holding up strange blue flower. He smiled. He knelt down and took it. "It's beautiful, monkey." In orbit, Vyark's crystalline ship hung like a guardian star. It was still watching, still learning. "Come," chimed Vyark. "Elias Thorne, a message intercepted from the old galaxy. It is for you from Fleet Primarch Krell." Elias stiffened. "Put it through." Krell's voice was weak, static-filled. "Engineer Thorne, the cure. It works. Our species will live, but our empire is dead. The subjugates have risen. They all know your name. They all know about the line. They are using your word." The voice paused. "And what have you done to us? What are you?" The message ended. Elias looked down at Maya. She was chasing a butterfly. He looked up at his new sky. He'd keyed his calm. Vyark, send this message back to anyone who's listening. Ready, Elias Thorne. We are humanity. We are bioliabilities. We are unlogical. We will endure more pain than you can imagine. We will bend. We will negotiate. We will even bow. But we draw lines in our hearts, in the names of our children. And if you cross them. He took a deep breath of his new world's air. Flee, just flee, because we are not weak. We are waiting, and our patience is a fuse, and you do not want to be there for the explosion. We are human, and we are free. Message sent, Vyark chimed. They hear you, Elias Thorne. Elias smiled. He turned off his comm. Dad, come on, Maya yelled. He ran to catch her.